where can you experience authentic New World food? On today's menu, deep in southern Mexico, between the Pacific coast and the Sierra Madres, lies the state of Oaxaca, a land of dramatic beauty, ancient heritage, and a food many consider Mexico's best. Celebrate Oaxacan style with a pre-dawn feast.
All the ladies are up at 5:30 in the morning, cracking hundreds of eggs.
Travel back in time with Zapotec Espesado,
Corn, beans, and squash, the holy trinity of the Mexican kitchen.
the centuries-old tradition of stone soup. Mole negro with cooking techniques from the ancient past.
Muy fuerte.
Oaxaca is famous for the indigenous food of the people who were here long before the Europeans arrived. A rich culinary tradition that forever altered the cuisine of Europe, that thrived in the Americas for several thousand years, and remains vibrant to this day.
Teotitlán del Valle is one of the most traditional Zapotec villages of Oaxaca. Here in Teotitlán, there are the Danza de la Pluma. Each plume dancer has a different saint. Today, a member of the family, Ruiz Carreño, is making the party in his parents' house to the Virgin of the Natividad. It's gonna be a big party, like 50 couples and a lot of children.
Oaxacan cooking is inextricably tied to the religious calendar and communal life. Even today, the indigenous people of the region prepare the foods of their pre-Hispanic ancestors, surprisingly complex given cooking techniques that date back thousands of years. 15 miles south of Oaxaca City, the town of Teotitlán del Valle prepares a traditional breakfast feast.
What we're going to have for breakfast here in Teotitlán del Valle is a ceremonial egg dish called higaditos. The higaditos is the most traditional breakfast in Oaxaca for the fiestas, served with chocolate atole.
Más de 40 años.
40 años. Here we have Natalia Bautista. She speaks Zapotec. She's the cook of the town. You can ask her, I have a party of 80 people, and she will tell you how much you need for that party. How many chicken, how many tortilla, how many corn, how many everything. She knows. ¿Nos podría explicar un poquito cómo lo hace? All the ladies in the family are up at 5:30 in the morning, cracking hundreds and hundreds of eggs. You start with huge vats of chicken broth. Now, in the broth, there's onion, thyme, cumin, and garlic. They beat the eggs and add all the chicken meat to the eggs. All the egg mixture is poured into the chicken broth. They have to stir it very slowly so the egg can congeal. What they put on top is the tomato and the chili. They boil the tomatoes just for a little while in the chicken stew. For the salsa, they toast chile de árbol, and then they grind it with garlic.
Okay.
I have my piece of tortilla. And no forks, no spoons for this. It's very, very good. It's like scrambled eggs, but it has the stew. You can feel the chicken, you can feel the egg. The chili is very hot, but it's very good. To make the chocolate atole, there are two parts. The first part is to make atole blanco. ground, corn starts boiling in water. She pours it to a cheesecloth. The liquid is left. This is the atole blanco. Now, to make the second part of the chocolate atole, the women have to make a foam made of cacao, corn, cinnamon, wheat, and rice, toasted and ground with a secret ingredient called petaxtle. The petaxtle is cacao buried under the ground for 8 full moons. And then when you take it out, it's calcified cacao. It has a black cover, but inside it's pure white. All these ingredients are ground in the metates into the right consistency. When it's ready, you put it in a pot of clay with water, and you have to whip it with a special artifact that's called molinillo. Because chocolate without foam here is no chocolate. Now everything comes together. First, in a bowl, you put the atole blanco. With a jícara, you take out the foam and you put it on top. So now we have on the bottom hot atole blanco, and on top cool chocolate foam.
Muchas gracias.
I'm from Oaxaca, but this is the first time I have chocolate atole, and wow, it's very, very good. The taste is like a sweet chocolatey farina. It's a little milky, and you can taste all the ingredients, the cinnamon, the corn, the wheat, the rice, the cacao. The feeling of the hot on the bottom and cool on the top is very, very special taste. Festivals and food. You cannot have one without the other in Oaxaca. It's a good life.
Oaxaca is made up of a lot of indigenous groups, the Zapotecs, the Mixtecos, Olmecs, Chantinas, Chinanteca, lots of different groups that were here in the pre-Hispanic times and still are here today. Nos vemos. Adios. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. I'm Susana Trilling. I love Oaxacan food because it's so ancient. The food is rich. We have more microclimates than any other state in Mexico, so we have certain ingredients only in certain areas. Tropical, lowlands, where all the bananas come from. There's high mountain regions, 10,000 feet up, where we gather wild mushrooms. Sierra Sur, which has sesame seeds and beans. The coast, which we have coconuts and plantains, a lot of fish. But the most important ingredient in Mexican cooking, this is where corn is king. Either fresh corn, called elote, or dried corn, called maíz. Maíz is made into many different dishes. A tortilla, which is the edible spoon. Dishes like empanadas, quesadillas, molotes, and drinks with corn, chocolate atole, and tejate. In fact, corn is so important here. They found the oldest fossilized kernels of corn in a little cave outside Mitla in the Central Valley of Oaxaca.
Corn is one of the first plants to be cultivated by humans. In Oaxaca, corn was domesticated by the Zapotecs, one of the oldest and largest of the 16 tribes in the region. Just south of Oaxaca City, in Santo Tomas Jalietza, a local Zapotec family makes a corn-based classic, squash fine soup.
We're going to visit some friends of mine in Santo Tomas Jalietza, the family of weavers called the Navarro family, and the brothers a painter. Santo Tomas is a Zapotec village where the people make special pre-Hispanic soup called espesada de guías de calabaza.
lo conocen como la sopa de guías, pero nosotros lo...
This is a squash vine soup filled with fresh corn on the cob, and they call it espesado because it's thickened with fresh corn that we've ground at the mill and then added back to the soup to make it creamy and almost buttery. Crispina and Inés go in the field and pick the corn, the squash vines, the squash flowers, the baby squash.
Son flores de calabaza, la semilla del maíz, poco de semilla de frijol.
Corn, beans, and squash. I call it the holy trinity of the Mexican kitchen.
Maíz, frijol y calabaza, todo en el mismo terreno.
The corn grows up, the beans trail up the corn, and the squash grows out in the field and mulches the field and keeps everything moist. And also, beans give nitrogen to the soil that the corn leaches out. So it makes like a perfect growing environment, but more important, when you harvest it, it makes a perfect food for the people. We pick the fresh chipil. Chipil is not available in other countries or other parts of Mexico either. It's really a Oaxacan thing. I use a mixture of parsley and watercress to mimic the flavor. Guillas, you have to break them. They take off the tendrils, and they use the young baby squash that are cut and also the squash blossom. First, they cut the corns in rounds, and they'll take some of the corn kernels off the cobs and grind it up. This thickens and gives this real creamy texture to the soup.
Muy rico. Va a quedar más cuando ya estemos comiendo.
And then this is salsa made with chili, ¿qué chili son?
Guajillo y de once.
Chili guajillo and chili onza with a little garlic and water, and then that spikes the soup up a little bit. My favorite thing. It tastes delicious. It tastes really healthy. It tastes creamy from the corn. It tastes green, like it's comforting. Also, I think because of the corn. Corn is very comforting, I think, to all of us.
Porque es auténticamente criollo.
She said this corn has so much more flavor because it's criollo. Native to this region, they get the fattest ears and save those seeds for the upcoming year. So they're constantly replenishing their own supply with like better and better corn.
Que somos 100% zapotecas.
She said that they're 100% Zapotec. They've been eating this food since before the Spanish came. And it's just a wonderful example of how you can just eat off the land from the ingredients that have been planted for thousands of years and still being enjoyed today.
Pre-Hispanic, it's in the way the people cook, you know? Moles, chile relleno, squash blossom soup, the empanadas. Oaxaca is a very special place for this kind of food. My name is Yolanda Giron. I'm gonna try something that I never had before.
A few miles outside of Oaxaca City, on the road to Santa Maria El Tule, you'll find a local specialty you may not see anywhere else: stone soup. Originating in the Chinantecan village of San Pedro Usila, stone soup is only made by men when they want to give the women a cooking vacation. The men fill gourds or jicaras with anything they catch from the river: fish, shrimp, and mix it with local herbs and water. But what really sets this dish apart is how it's cooked.
This is Cesar Gachupin de Dios and his daughter Maria Guadalupe Gachupin Velasco. They come from the Chinantecan region and they speak Chinanteco.
El caldo de piedra es una comida prehispánica.
Stone soup is a pre-Hispanic soup. Its origin is Chinanteco.
Charlotte, cilantro, jalapeño, chile.
You first chop garlic, cilantro, chile, shallots.
Epazote.
Epazote that give a special flavor to this kind of soup. He put it into a little gourd with tomato sauce. Then he added some water and salt. This kind of soup, you cook it in a gourd. And you put all the spices and the shrimp and the fish, and then put the hot stones into the soup.
Dios mío, quiero conocerlo. Serás tú, el hombre de mi vida.
I love shrimp, you know? So that's what I have. And this is the stone that still is in my soup, very, very hot. I can burn my fingers. And all the flavors come together.
Ven a mi corazón.
It's a wonderful taste, especially the epazote. Epazote is one of the most important herbs that we have in Oaxaca. This is the epazote that comes from the Chineteca zone and it smells like a citrus. Si la piedra agrega sabor a la sopa.
Totalmente, sí. Porque mira, por ejemplo, todo...
Everything, even the gore. The gore gives you a special flavor and the stone gives you another flavor.
Oaxaca is the place of the 7 moles. Mole negro, mole rojo, mole coloradito, amarillo, verde. We have also manchamanteles and chichilo. The mole negro is the most famous. It's the quintessential dish.
Back in Teotihuacan, mole negro is made using ancient cooking techniques, some dating back to around 600 BC.
The family Hernandez Vázquez are very respected rug makers in Oaxaca. Everybody in the family are weavers. And of course, they are very good cooks. And here we're watching 3 generations of women making mole negro. Mole comes from the word moler, to grind. It's a sauce made with many ingredients. Most people know guacamole, which is a mixture of avocado and spices. But this kind of moles are more complicated. We need more ingredients, more time of preparation, a lot of work. There are 2 kinds of chiles, black chile ancho and chile guajillo. We start by removing the seeds from the chiles.
Lista, lista. Siempre cha-cha-cha.
And you save them. You don't throw them away because we're going to need them later.
Me gusta cha-cha-cha. Porque no cha-cha-cha. Está lista.
While the women make the mole, the children learn the craft of weaving. Everything is toasted, roasted on the comal. And the comal is an unglazed clay dish placed on top of an anafre. We have sesame seeds, red, almonds, thyme, fresh and dried, Mexican cinnamon called canela, and big, beautiful, plump raisins. First, you have to toast the chilies on the comal. The corn husk is used like a spatula.
Muy fuerte.
You know the chilies are done when they turn black.
El color cambia. Quemado, negrito.
Younger girls pluck leaves from the thyme. And the onions are put on the fire to roast. Hot water is poured over the toasted chilies to soften them. They toast the almonds, they toast the thyme, they toast the canela, raisins, sesame seeds that pop when they're done. Everything is toasted, roasted, and ground. So you remember the seeds we saved? Now we have to toast them, and then we set them on fire. Fire is very important because this is what is going to give mole negro its color. After 45 minutes, the chilies are drained. The metate is a pre-Hispanic volcanic rock people use for grinding. In 2 metates, in one they grind the spices, and on the other one they grind the chilies. Then the ground mole paste is fried in a cazuela. And then they add chicken stock.
Y se le agrega el caldo de pollo.
The chili oils boil to the surface, and they glow bright orange. It looks like a volcano.
Y el chocolate. chocolate y azúcar. El chocolate se utiliza para que el mole no sea tan picoso. El mole se puede servir con arroz y pollo.
Here we have the chicken. Very good. It's rich, it's very smoky. You can feel the spiciness of the chili, the sweet of the raisins, all together. You cannot taste separate, no, everything is blended together beautifully. With the 7 moles in Oaxaca, the mole negro is one of the best. And here in Teotitlán del Valle, they have a special touch.
What's so special to me about Oaxacan cooking is antique recipes, the techniques. It comes from picking the right ingredients, the camaraderie in the kitchen when all the women get together, cooking, telling stories, everybody's chopping or grinding or tasting. This is slow food at its best. The food that makes Oaxaca the culinary gemstone of Mexico.